Hello, YouTubers. Happy 26th day of October 2016. We're whizzing right on through this month, and we've got a lot of news to bring you. Much of it has to do with the election tonight. Not all of it, but most of it. I'll forewarn you of that right off the bat. Won't nobody be any happier for this election to be over with than yours truly. The first article that I have for you is off of LibertyWritersNews.com, and it says, urgent. Donald Trump just got amazing news. This will give Hillary Clinton a heart attack. Well, we could only hope. Okay, hey, Hillary Clinton, the American people have new message about you or for you about Donald Trump, and you're not going to like this one. Earlier today, a whole bunch of shiny brand new polls came out, and they are getting the Donald all fired up to be president. Remember how just last week they were saying only 40% of Republicans believe Hillary will rig the election? It looks like Donald Trump's message is loud and clear. Oh, and it's not just Republicans who are turning to Mr. Trump for answers. The same series of polls revealed that Hillary Clinton, who was up 10 points on Trump just 3 days ago, is now only beating him by 3 points and falling fast, 43% to 40%. Plus, I think we all know at this point that those polls are super rigged. So I would be willing to bet that this means Donald Trump is actually winning. See, did I tell you I had some great news? Now, did Donald Trump a favor and help spread this joy by sharing this article with every Trump supporter you know. We're going to win this thing. And then there's more to this if you want to go to the next page and read it. But don't get too excited too fast, because there's some other news in this that is not quite as, hoorah is what this one is. So let's go on to this next article, rightwingnews.com. And it says, Obama finally admits his universal health plan is not cutting it. In an unprecedented moment of personal clarity, President Obama finally admits that Obamacare isn't the panacea he thought it would be. Unfortunately, he manages to choke out this admission along with a not so subtle shot at Republicans who have criticized the bill since day one. But you know what? I'm not even all that upset about the snide remark, because, quite frankly, it was his only method of saving face after being forced to admit that his plan isn't as great as he thought it was. Conservatives 1, Obama 0. Politico has all the delicious details of Obama admission, and it's not to be missed by anyone who knew right from the start that this was going to be a monumental failure. I've always said that for all the good the Affordable Health Care Act is doing right now, as for as big a step forward as it was, it's still just a first step. Obama said while defending his law to a crowd of Miami-Dade College, it's like buying a starter home. It's a lot better than not having a home, but over time, you hope you can make some improvements. I'd like to think that President put more time into coming up with a national law that would affect literally everyone in the country than most people put into acquiring their starter home. At this point, it might even be more expensive. Just because a lot of the Republican criticism has been proven to be false and politically motivated doesn't mean that there aren't some legitimate concerns about how the law is working now, Obama said. Yep, there's that trusty Republicans are bad line we've come to expect from a man so egotistical that he can't even take the blame for his own failures. I don't know what he's blaming them for either, because not one Republican was responsible for signing this poorly constructed law into action. That's all on Obama and his trusty Democrats, who like to take good thing, in this case at least decent thing, and screw it up until so many people have to rely on the government. Be that as it may, I'm still reveling. Try this again. I'm still reveling in the fact that Obama had to admit that his namesake legislation didn't live up to the hype. It's one thing, most satisfying, I told you so moments I've ever experienced, but it's also the most somber because so many people have struggled to find health care that covers them and they don't have to spend an arm and a leg to receive. So there's that article. All these URLs are, of course, in the description of my video, so you can take a look at them at your leisure and do whatever research you want to do on any of them. And then some of them will have some video and stuff if you want to look further into it. Next article I have is off of Natural News. It says Obamacare premiums skyrocket by double digits as economically traumatizing Americans scream enough. McClatchy is now reporting that Obamacare premiums are skyrocketing another 25% in 2017, thrusting health insurance premiums into the stratosphere. With the American middle class now being devastated by rising health insurance premiums and Obamacare's confiscatory tax penalties for non-compliance, traumatized Americans are screaming enough. Insurers are raising the 2017 premiums for a popular and significant group of health plans sold through healthcare.gov by an average of 25%, more than triple the increase for this year, according to new government figures, says the article. When premiums rise by 25% each year, they will do more than double in just 3 years. Do the math, it's true. Even without the 2017 increases, Obamacare is unaffordable to almost anyone who works for a living. It's only the low-wage workers across America who can afford Obamacare, and that's only because their costs are being overwhelmingly subsidized by taxpayers. The middle class in America is being decimated by failed policies of Obama and Clinton, as rising health insurance rates lead to massive job losses, slashing of working hours offshore of workers, and loss of business competitiveness for U.S. companies. The middle class is being economically decimated. Some families are now paying more than $25,000 a year in health insurance premiums. And in 3 more years under Clinton presidency, that rate will hike to double to $50,000 a year. How can healthcare costs skyrocket so much? Because Obamacare is nothing but a massive government racket to transfer the wealth of the working class to the pockets of the pharmaceutical giants. It's a scam. Like everything else you witness today in government and the media, it's all rigged from the start. Healthcare system was never designed to keep you healthy. It was actually designed to extract the maximum financial wealth from the population and concentrate it into the pockets of the ultra-wealthy corporatists who run the corrupt government. That's why healthcare doesn't promote health, and the people who run it don't even care. Obamacare can't be fixed. It must be gutted, repealed, and replaced. That's why Obamacare can never be solved by tweaking it. To save America from the financial and medical devastation now looming over the entire nation, we must excise Obamacare from this nation like a festering cancerous tumor. We must cut it out, burn it out, or do anything and everything necessary to repeal and replace this failed, fraudulent system of really bad ideas from coming out of the clueless morons in Washington, D.C. People who have no idea whatsoever how the real world works because they've never lived in it. I actually have a system that can fix America's failed Obamacare nightmare. Yes, I have a simple market-based approach to fixing healthcare that's smarter than all of Obama's economic advisors combined. It would vastly reduce healthcare costs, instantaneously improve patient outcomes, and drive intense competition between healthcare providers, finally forcing them to treat patients like valuable customers rather than medical slaves. My system is based on a combination of healthcare vouchers, online surveying of patient outcomes, total transparency of healthcare pricing, and a complete overhaul of what's covered so that truly preventative services such as chiropractic care, massage therapy, acupuncture, fitness gym memberships, nutritional supplements, and holistic medicine are covered under prevention. Fixing the broken healthcare system isn't difficult. First, you have to actually want the system to work, which is something the Democrats never really desired. You also have to end the big pharma monopoly, completely gut the FDA, end the collusion between government regulators and the pharmaceutical interests, and start making mass arrests of pharmaceutical company CEOs who poison children for profit. Once Trump wins the White House, if he's interested, I'd be happy to fly to Washington, D.C. and lay out the plan that can save America through radical healthcare reforms. The drug companies will lose big, but the people will win big. Nothing will change unless we change the people running Washington. If you want pioneering problem solvers like myself to have any influence in Washington, we must first change the people running Washington. Hillary Clinton is just an extension of the failed policies of Obama. She's a big pharma hack, vaccine pusher, Monsanto operative, and truly evil individual with no regard whatsoever for innocent human life. If Hillary Clinton steals the White House in this upcoming election, your health care coverage will get even more expensive in the years ahead. Even as the FDA criminalizes natural cancer treatments and dietary supplements that can affordably and safely prevent disease like vitamin D, which can prevent cancer for mere pennies a day. That's why this November 8th, your only sane choice is to vote for Donald J. Trump as a vote against the crooked, corrupt establishment. If you want to end the medical industry's stranglehold on America, you must throw the corporate plutocrats out of office, starting with Hillary Rotten Clinton. In their place, we need smart, tough-minded business pioneers, independent medical experts, and honest scientists who aren't beholden to the system. Frankly, we need people like myself, Ocean Robbins, Suzanne Summers, in cooperation with the Gonzalez practice in New York, and Sayer Jai, to reveal to this nation how to prevent disease, clean up the food supply, and start saving billions of dollars by preventing cancer for pennies instead of treating it for millions of dollars. How to achieve lasting health, slash its healthcare expenditures, vastly improve quality of life, and greatly improve the cognitive, productive, and longevity of our working class citizens. It's not even very complicated. By electing Donald Trump into office, you may help open doors to patriotic, independent American problem solvers like myself who have enormous contributions to offer this nation. And believe me, I want to help America. And I would gladly work for a Trump administration in Washington, D.C. for a grand total salary of $1, as long as we get the FDA and EPA and, of course, and that would be priceless. Remember, we're not going to solve this nation's health care problems with the same kind of thinking that got us into this mess in the first place, or as I'm fond of saying, no nation can ever afford the rising costs associated with caring for an increasingly deceased population. If you want to control healthcare costs, you have to stop the causes of disease. It's Economics 101. Treating disease is highly lucrative for drug companies, hospitals, and doctors, but it's economic suicide for the nation as a whole. And this goes on, it says vote for Donald Trump or your healthcare costs will double again in the next 4 years. And so, it's more thumping the drum for Donald Trump. So if you want to read the rest of that, it's there in that article. But, basically, if Obamacare stays in, those of you that are signed up for it are going to pay through the nose. The next one I have here is off of regated.com. It says bribery. Clinton ally gave $500,000 to wife of FBI official Andrew McCabe. Virginia Governor Terry, I'm not sure how this is pronounced. I've heard it both ways. McAuliffe or McAuliffe is his last name. It says Clinton ally and surrogate gave $500,000 to the campaign of wife of Andrew McCabe. McCabe is the FBI official who oversaw the Hillary Clinton email investigation. In July, Andrew McCabe earned an appointment to Associate Deputy Director, the third highest role in the FBI. After his prosecution, McCabe went to oversee the investigation into Hillary Clinton's personal email server. The investigation earned heaps of press and speculation. Many thought Hillary would face prosecution. Shockingly, the FBI recommended that no charges against Hillary due to her lacking willful intent to break the law. Is it coincidence that longtime Clinton ally Terry McAuliffe donated generously to McCabe's wife's campaign? Is it coincidence that McCabe himself gets promoted within the FBI? One thing this election season has taught us, nothing is coincidence. Andrew McCabe got promoted again during the investigation. It's time to deputy director, or this time to deputy director of the FBI. The fix was in. How stupid does Hillary Clinton and company think we are? Did she think American press is too stupid to fit the puzzle pieces together? Or did she pay them off too? Unprecedented time. The slow drip of insights into Clinton machine inner mechanisms by WikiLeaks continues daily. The damning revelations from James O'Keefe's series on Democratic Party agitators and election rigging tactics show criminality. It seems the blatant and obvious corruption within the Clinton camp and Democrats stand no chance of staying hidden in the shadows. Democrats could hide everything from the public in their perfect world. They willingly mislead an unaware and compliant populace to vote for Clinton. Americans are well informed as a result of WikiLeaks and O'Keefe's undercover fight against corruption and misinformation. The internet and independent journalism have unshackled America from state-run media with ease of access in the information age. We have access to more than lies and half-truths. In this increasingly Orwellian 21st century, it's up to each citizen in their own personal pursuit of knowledge. Take the blue pill and stay in dreamland, or take the red pill and wake up to our country's corruption. First of all, the Clinton ally must not be permitted to bribe the wife of FBI official. That same official must also not be permitted to oversee Clinton's email server investigation. Finally, a top Clinton advisor must not instruct a cleanup to shield the truth from American citizens. Through WikiLeaks, we learned that President Obama willingly lied about his knowledge of Clinton's personal server. He did not learn about the personal server when the news broke because he emailed with Clinton. Longtime Clinton aide Cheryl Mills even pointed out from a non.gov domain address at that, and that shows Obama knew about it long before anyone else did. The corruption runs deep and dark. If it was up to the establishment and their puppet politician, Hillary Clinton would become the 45th president of the United States to brush away all the critics of both the Obama administration and the Clinton's terrible run, unethical, corrupt campaign, both in the primaries against Bernie Sanders and in the general election against Trump. Can't we let Andrew McCabe correct the record? To the victor go the spoils. So if Hillary Clinton wins presidency, this dystopian and unethical culture of corruption and misinformation would simply continue. The vile and rotten swamp will stick around and fester if the Democrats win. Hillary's beastly machine will strengthen and become emboldened by the power of the presidency. The Clinton machine lied and cheated and used corrupt tactics to get there. What could suddenly instill a sense of ethics and morality in her administration if a crooked and slimy strategy led to the White House? Hillary would not abandon strategies that seemed to work so well for her. Therefore, a Clinton White House promises a pure and liberal facade, one without scandal, because all honest information will be hidden from public view. The next article has to do with the same thing. That's off of Western journalism, and it says Clinton ally donated nearly $500,000 to FBI officials' wife while Hillary was under investigation. Virginia Governor Terry McAuliffe, an ally of Democratic presidential nominee Hillary Clinton and former Clinton Foundation board member, reportedly gave nearly $500,000 in donations to the spouse of an FBI official while she ran for public office, the Wall Street Journal reported on Sunday. McAuliffe's PAC donated $475,000 last year to the state Senate campaign of Dr. Jill McCabe, the wife of Andrew McCabe, who then oversaw Clinton's email investigation and would become deputy director of the FBI. The state Democratic Party, over which McAuliffe was considerable influence, gave McCabe an additional $207,788. McCabe ultimately lost the election to incumbent Republican Dick Black, and McAuliffe failed in his efforts to win a Democratic majority in the Virginia legislature. The issue immediately became a talking point for Republican nominee Donald Trump, who has repeatedly argued that Clinton avoided prosecution over her use of a private email server when she was Secretary of State because of a rigged system. Trump set out a tweet linked to the story Sunday night, and you can read that here in this article. And it says the Virginia governor's office denied allegations that the money donated to McCabe was anything more than an effort to help like-minded candidates get elected. A spokesman for the governor said he supported Jill McCabe because he believes she would be a good state senator. This is customary practice for Virginia governors. Any insinuation that his support was tied to anything other than his desire to elect candidates who would help pass his agenda is ridiculous. Andrew McCabe was running the Bureau's D.C. field office when the FBI official launched the investigation into Clinton's server. In February, he was promoted from Associate Deputy Director to Deputy Director, which gave him oversight into the investigation of the Clinton emails. In a statement to the Journal, the FBI said McCabe played no role, attended no events, and did not participate in fundraising or support of any kind. Months after the completion of her campaign, then Associate Deputy Director McCabe was promoted to deputy, where in fact that position he assumed for the first time an oversight role in the investigation into Hillary Clinton's emails. Jill McCabe issued a statement of her own saying, "Once I decided to run, my husband had no former role in my campaign other than to be a supportive husband to me and our children. As a federal official, everyone who participated in our campaign understood and respected that he could not participate." Trump has often accused Washington elites of being corrupt and using the system to benefit political insiders and bureaucrats. So there's that article. The next one that I have for you is off of freedomoutpost.com, and it says, if I get the ads off of it here so I can read it. There we go. Leaked emails show Hillary ready to write executive orders for her donors. Well, we know Hillary Clinton is about as corrupt as they come. We know she's lawless. Now we see from a thread of emails leaked by WikiLeaks that it appears that she's willing to sign illegal executive orders for her donors. These particular emails were between her campaign chairman, John Podesta, and Mary Pat Bonner, who is a donor advisor. And it says, who is Mary Pat Bonner, you ask? According to the New York Times, consultation, and well, there's a link you can click on there to read what the New York Times has to say about her. It says a constellation of left-leaning nonprofits and super PACs are raising tens of millions of dollars to pave the way for Hillary Rodham Clinton's presidential campaign, and nearly all of them have paid Mary Pat Bonner a cut. Over the past several years, the group, which include American Bridge 21st Century, Media Matters for America, and Super PAC Ready for Hillary, have paid Miss Bonner consulting firm in excess of $6 million to help them cultivate wealthy donors and raise money according to tax filings and campaign disclosures. Ms. Bonner's contracts give her firm a commission, typically 12.5% on any money she brings in. Her tenacity, ties to wealthy givers and mastery of making donors happy have made Ms. Bonner, 48 years old, among the most successful practitioners of a trade that's virtually invisible to voters, but has taken an immense power and influence in the post-Citizen United world. Almost every candidate for high office must now court ultra-rich donors to finance super PACs. And with each party more reliant than ever on networks of outside groups to supplement its advertising and opposition research, fundraisers like Miss Bonner holds the keys to big money kingdom. And then there's some emails and stuff in this if you want to read those. It says Bonner writes in an email with the subject line, "Is there someone in your shop who totally understands executive orders? It is to answer a very big donor question." "Me," replies Podesta. And Bonner says, "Is it for Michael King?" And Podesta asks, "What does he need?" She says, "It is for Michael King." And Podesta asks, "What does he need?" And she says, he has an idea and just needs an answer to a bunch of easy questions about how this works. And so Bonner needs to know about executive orders in order to answer very big donor question to see how this works. What's even more concerning is that this Michael King is more than likely the very man who is the executive of King World Productions, which became a part of CBS. King has been known to work with the Clintons in the past as political fundraiser, including one in 2012 with Bill Clinton for Barack Hussein Obama, Sortar Sobarak. Gosh, every time I read that man's name, he's got more names tacked to it, don't he? Wow. Okay, now we know that Barack Obama has used executive orders more than any other president, and we also know that Hillary Clinton has vowed to use them, even to bypass Congress and attack the Second Amendment. Do you think Michael King might have in mind an executive order to silence his media opposition, including those of us in alternative media? I surely wouldn't put that past him or Hillary Clinton. So there is that article. The next one we have is off of bizpackreview.com, and it says, the title of it is Clinton Caught in Rigging Controversy. Let's look at this business of rigged elections, which presidential candidate Donald Trump has raised as a concern, and opponent Hillary Clinton is horrified about. Any person involved in politics for more than a few years who is willing to be honest about it knows there are innumerable ways that elections can be rigged. If anyone says there is little voter fraud or rigged elections in this country, they need to face the truth. The truth starts by understanding that elections can be rigged with or without outright voter fraud on election day. Think back to 1960 presidential election of John F. Kennedy, narrowly won Illinois and Texas, and if Nixon had won them, he wouldn't have been president. Kennedy won Chicago by a huge victory, 450,000 votes, but only won Illinois by 9,000 votes. The Chicago Tribune uncovered major examples of Chicago voter fraud, with 3 people sent to prison, and 677 others were indicted until a crony judge connected to political machine bosses acquitted them. The fraud included legions of dead people who voted, many polling places that did not include members of both political parties, people who were given cash to vote for the right candidate, and stealing or destruction of ballots, a favorite slogan of Chicagoans: vote early, vote often. In 2012, a Pew Center Trust reported that 24 million voter registrations in the U.S. are no longer valid and are significantly inaccurate. 1.8 million deceased people are listed as voters, and that 2.75 million people have registrations in more than one state. These are numbers serious enough to steal an election. Vox published a piece in 2014 with the headline, 68% of Americans think elections are rigged, according to Rasmussen poll. Many political operatives maintain that voting machines cannot be trusted because their manufacturers are closely connected to one of the major political parties. An officer of the National AFL-CIO claimed 2016's Democratic Party primary was rigged from the start against Bernie Sanders. Rigging included debate times, media bias, and vote rigging. In Colorado and Los Angeles County, there were widespread instances of dead people voting in the last decade, from 2010 to 2013. Criminals in Texas are now engaging in vote harvesting to illegally obtain signatures of valid voters, then vote in their name without their consent. The Wall Street Journal recalls that President Lyndon Johnson stole a Texas Senate seat in 1948. Even Hillary Clinton stated in Newsweek in 2002 that George Bush was selected, not elected, in his race against Al Gore. But now she seeks to deny Donald Trump his legal right to challenge the upcoming election results if he chooses. Her creative memory conveniently ignores the manipulations Al Gore engaged in as he petitioned Florida courts to overturn the 2000 election results. Brit Hume says what Al Gore did was worse than Trump. He lost the popular vote and all the recounts, which he tried to rig by seeking recounts only in areas favorable to him. Get this, for $82, you can buy the same voting machine that's used by many states, pick the lock in 7 seconds, and replace the chip on the current board with your own to alter the tally of votes to favor one party over another. You can do it. So can election workers. Even here in Palm Beach County, Florida, a former supervisor of elections spent over $500,000 of taxpayer money to pursue a social change agenda by promoting voter registration campaigns targeting certain classes and races, precincts, and ethnicity of voters who identified with only one political party. Now, if that's not rigging, what is it? The lesson here is that fraud and manipulation are not limited to Election Day. Instead of false feigning spells by partisan, biased mainstream media attempting to preordain the election's outcome, as one Wall Street Journal put it, the media should admit that election rigging and fraud is a problem. Experienced political operatives from both sides know that Clinton claims that Trump is unpatriotic or blowing smoke over concerns about voter fraud is gross hypocrisy. The next article I have for you is off of BizPac Review. It says, Clinton's IT official, one of 5 with immunity, just pleaded the 5th to more than 90 questions. Former State Department IT aide, who was one of at least 5 people granted immunity from President Obama's Justice Department, invoked his Fifth Amendment rights more than 90 times during a deposition on Hillary Clinton's private emails. According to Judicial Watch, the government watchdog group that has filed multiple Freedom of Information Act lawsuits over documents from the former Secretary of State, says the deposition of John Bentel, the State Department's former Director of Information Resource Management of the Executive Secretariat, and then in parentheses it has S/ES-IRM, was ordered by U.S. District Court Judge Emmett G. Sullivan. S/SE-IRM is the office that handles information technology for the Office of the Secretary. Mr. Bentel answered over 90 questions with, on the advice of my legal counsel, I declined to answer the questions and I invoke my Fifth Amendment rights. Mr. Bentel, on advice of the Obama Justice Department and personal counsel, refused to answer any questions about whether Hillary Clinton was paying his legal fees, offered him employment, or other financial incentives. There were 3 government attorneys and 2 personal attorneys present for the deposition. On August 19, 2016, Judge Sullivan granted Judicial Watch's request to depose Bentel, citing significant discrepancies in Bentel's previous statements on the Clinton non-state government email system. The court is persuaded that Mr. Bentel should be deposed because the record in this case appears to contradict his sworn testimony before the House Select Benghazi Committees. Specifically, Mr. Bentel testified that he was not aware that Secretary Clinton's email account was housed on a private server until the media reports in 2015. However, several emails indicate Mr. Bentel knew about the private server as early as 2009. In ordering Bentel's deposition, Judge Sullivan also cited a May 2016 Inspector General's report that found Mr. Bentel told employees in his office that Secretary Clinton's email arrangement had been approved by the State Department's legal staff and also instructed his subordinates not to discuss the Secretary's email again. In one meeting, one staff member raised concerns that information sent and received on Secretary Clinton's account could contain federal records that needed to be preserved in order to satisfy federal record-keeping requirements. According to the staff member, the director stated that Secretary's personal system had been reviewed and approved by department legal staff and that the matter was not to be discussed any further. According to the other S/ES-IRM staff member who raised concerns about the server, the director stated that the mission of the S/ES-IRM is to support the secretary and instruct the staff never to speak of the secretary's personal email system again. Judicial Watch deposed 7 former Clinton top aides and current State Department officials, including top Clinton aides Cheryl Mills and Huma Abedin. Judicial Watch also deposed IT official Brian Pugliano, who asserted his Fifth Amendment right not to testify during the Judicial Watch deposition, and Clinton last week answered Judicial Watch's question under oath regarding her non-government email system. The depositions come in connection with the Judicial Watch's Freedom of Information Act lawsuit that seeks records about the controversial employment status of Huma Abedin, Deputy Chief of Staff for former Secretary Clinton. Judicial Watch versus U.S. Department of State, number 1:13 CB 01363. The fact that yet another State Department official took the fifth highlights the disturbing implication that criminal acts took place related to the Clinton email and our Freedom of Information Act request, stated Judicial Watch Tom Fitton. Republican National Committee spokesman Michael Short, in a statement, said, if Hillary Clinton's secret email server really was consistent with the law, as she claims, 2 former State Department IT staffers would not have pleaded the fifth more than 200 times. This only adds to the stench of impropriety created by the revelation that hundreds of thousands of dollars in political contributions flowed from a longtime Clinton insider to the wife of a senior FBI official who oversaw the email investigation. The next article I have for you is off of the EUTimes.net, and this one says, flashback, Bilderberg appointed Hillary Clinton president since June of 2015. Back in 2015, June 11th through the 14th, the Bilderberg Group met in Telfs, Austria, at the 5-star luxury Internal Pen Hotel, Tyrol Hotel, where they discussed about many international plots on how to rule the world in a way they want. Among the subjects was, guess what, U.S. elections, and it's even stated in the Wikipedia page. In their secret meeting, they have decided to appoint Hillary Clinton from the Democratic side and Jeb Bush from the Republican side, so that now on November the 8th, 2016, you would have to choose again between Clinton and Bush, just like in the past. 2 corrupt internationalist families with very tainted backgrounds who can easily be controlled and manipulated into doing everything the Bilderbergs want by blackmailing of exposing them if they don't obey the orders. No, this isn't a pro-Trump, anti-Hillary hit piece. This story is historical factual evidence and a reminder of the events that took place back in 2015. The video above, and there is a video in this you can take a look at, reports about Bilderberg backing Hillary Clinton as the future president predates Donald Trump. The first report about Hillary Clinton being appointed by Bilderberg was released on June the 8th, 2015. Donald Trump announced his candidacy 8 days later on June the 16th, 2015. So this isn't a lie to defend Trump now. This was reported before he even announced he was running. Alex Jones wasn't defending Trump in that video. The video was from June 9th, 2015. Trump wasn't even running that day, and even after he announced it, it took Alex Jones a couple months until he finally endorsed Donald Trump, because his first option was initially Rand Paul. So the video, the report, is pure tactical evidence of the Bilderberg picking Hillary as their next president, and it has nothing to do with Trump. InfoWars wasn't the only one talking about Clinton versus Bush scenario already handpicked by Bilderberg. Global Research, IntelliHub, Western Journalism, New York Post, and many others were talking about it way before Trump announced he is running. As in the case of the Democratic Party, we have already seen the popular vote meant nothing, and that the election was clearly stolen from Bernie Sanders. They tried to pull the same strings with Donald Trump. They wanted to steal the election from him. RNC member Curly Hoagland said said this back in March of 2016. Voters don't decide candidate, establishment does, and delegates are unbound. And this in April of 2016. RNC said if Trump gets 1,237 delegates, doesn't mean he'll be the nominee. RNC Chairman Reince Priebus said that the candidates aren't elected. Popular votes mean nothing. The candidates are trying to join us in March of 2016. RNC confirms rules changed to prevent Trump from winning Republican nomination. With all of this plotting going on, Trump finally had enough, and in April 2016, Trump threatened to fire RNC Chairman Priebus if he continues to conspire against him. The establishment conceded and pretended to endorse Donald Trump, only to bomb him later with their under endorsements because of a pussy tape leaked by guess who? A freaking Bush, Billy Bush, who is a member of the Bush family. Trump announced he's running on June 16th of 2015, only 2 days after the 2015 Bilderberg meeting in Austria. Clinton and Bush were already chosen. First, they laughed at Trump, and they thought he doesn't stand a chance against their selected future Republican nominee, Jeb Bush, in whom they invested hundreds of millions of dollars. But as time went on and Trump strategically targeted Bush in his attacks, Bush became irrelevant to the Bilderbergs. So the Bilderbergs were forced to move on to support Ted Cruz, John Kasich, as a way to prevent Trump from winning because they saw Donald Trump as a self-funding and is against their international agenda of world domination. For the first time, money didn't matter. Hundreds of millions of dollars were wasted on campaign ads on Bush, Cruz, Kasich with no effect whatsoever. So they resorted to stealing, like the case of Iowa, where Cruz stole the state from Trump by stealing from Ben Carson a couple of points. Utah, where multiple ballots were handed to Cruz voters. Colorado and Wyoming, where the election was canceled altogether, and so the people were starting to protest and even threaten riots at the RNC in Cleveland. So they eventually had to back down and stop the steal. They couldn't believe it that Trump, a button clown simpleton, and whatever other terms they used to describe him in the media, was beating them. But he did not only defeat everyone else, but he was nominated with the most votes ever. 14 million people nominated Donald Trump as the new Republican leader, a record number. Everyone fought back. The Bilderbergs couldn't do anything, and now Clinton is their last stand, the last line of defense. This is exactly why the entire media polling establishment Democrats, establishment Republicans are colluding to defend Donald Trump. Even the Obamas are panicked and campaigning for Hillary nonstop. But the people are ready again to stand their ground, fight back, and defend their candidate. And the establishment better be careful this time, because here's what JFK said: those who make peaceful revolution impossible will make violent revolution inevitable. And if they're going to steal the election, it's going to be inevitable. To simply describe Trump in a few words, he was an unpredicted, unanticipated, and unplanned black sheep which appeared from the middle of nowhere and ruined the Bilderbergs' globalist plans. Trump is, for them, a major loss, which translates in trillions of dollars. They are desperate, and they are hitting with everything they can at the Donald. They've even tried to assassinate him a couple of times, and there's no doubt that they'll try it again if he wins the presidency. After all, it wouldn't be the first time political opponents have been slain or attempted to be slain in America since Abraham Lincoln, the GOP founder himself, James A. Garland, William McKinley, John F. Kennedy, Theodore Roosevelt, and Ronald Reagan. Hillary Clinton herself attended a 2013 Bilderberg as a off-list VIP along Queen Beatrix of the Netherlands and she was caught on camera and exposed at one time. And there's pictures in this if you want to take a look at those, and some video and says 1 year later in 2014, Mann confronted Hillary Clinton about her Bilderberg connection, and as usual with the establishment politicians, first she denied, then she refused to further talk about it. Then her security kicked him out. Connect the dots and ask yourself, are you ready to accept an appointed, selected president? Are you willing to allow Bilderberg appointment or to appoint your president and decide your fate and your destiny for the next 4 years again? For your own amusement, you should also watch this video about Hillary Clinton's Bilderberg appointment and how Hillary is planning to assign illegal immigrants to vote for her. 2015 video is included, so you can take a look at those at your leisure. The next one I have here is off of Natural News. It says electoral victory for Hillary Clinton already locked in via massive bribery. George Soros admits on video, democracy be damned, theft of the presidency is already complete. The Democrats have bribed Electoral College representatives to fix the election outcome in favor of Hillary Clinton, admits George Soros in a recently unearthed video. Soros, the same globalist terrorist who funded Black Lives Matter executions of police officers in Dallas, and who also funds hundreds of liberal websites and violent activist organizations who stage violence at Trump rallies to blame Republicans, says in the video that Trump will run the popular vote in a landslide, but that he will lose the electoral vote because it's already a done deal for Hillary Clinton. Soros says it's going to lead to a landslide for Donald Trump in the popular vote, not the electoral vote, because their paid political announcements will have a big role. The popular vote will be a landslide because we are a small minority of extremists. I don't think that Donald Trump has any chance of being elected. The reporter says, but you think Hillary Clinton is a done deal? And Soros says yes. The astonishing revelation confirms what Dave Hodges recently told me in an interview, that Electoral College representative electors are being approached with bribes to buy their final votes. And there is a video of Soros saying all that stuff here if you want to see that at your own risk. And the article goes on and says, yes, electors can vote for anyone they want. Democracy be damned. There's no constitutional provision or federal law that requires electors to vote according to the results of the popular vote in their states. Some states, however, require electors to cast their votes according to the popular vote. The U.S. Supreme Court has held that the Constitution does not require that electors be completely free to act as they choose, and therefore political parties may extract pledges from the electors to vote for their party's nominees. The Supreme Court has not specifically ruled on the question of whether pledges and penalties for failure to vote as pledged may be enforced under Constitution. No elector has ever been prosecuted for failing to vote as pledged. You might be shocked to learn that only 29 states require electors to cast their electoral votes in accordance with the popular vote of their state. Those 29 states are Alabama, Alaska, California, Colorado, Connecticut, Delaware, District of Columbia, Florida, Hawaii, Maine, Maryland, Massachusetts, Michigan, Mississippi, Montana, Nebraska, Nevada, New Mexico, North Carolina, Ohio, Oklahoma, Oregon, South Carolina, Tennessee, Utah, Vermont, Virginia, Washington, Wisconsin, and Wyoming. As that same page writes, over the years, however, despite legal oversight, a number of electors have violated their state's law binding them to their pledge vote. However, these violators often face being charged with misdemeanor or small fine, usually $1,000. Many constitutional scholars agree that electors remain free agents despite state laws, and that if challenged, such laws would be ruled unconstitutional. Therefore, electors can decline to cast their vote for a specific candidate, the one that wins the popular vote of that state, either voting for an alternate candidate or abstaining completely. The same corrupt Democrats that have rigged the debates, rigged the polls, rigged the news media, and rigged the justice system are now about to steal the election through bribery of electors. Now it's all becoming clear. Having failed to destroy Donald Trump despite the world's most vicious barrage of lies and defamatory news slander, George Soros and the corrupt Democrats have bribed enough electors to lock in a victory for Hillary Clinton, no matter what happens on Election Day. What you're going to see the night of November 8th, in other words, is a landslide popular vote victory for Donald Trump, immediately followed by electoral votes handing the official election victory to Hillary Clinton. The theft of the presidency will be achieved thusly, and as you might expect, the American people are going to revolt en masse. We, the people, will not accept theft of power and the nullification of democracy. We, the people, will not accept the theft of power by a corrupt criminal regime run by deceptive leftists who lie, cheat, and steal their way to power at every election. The bribery of electors is, of course, the nullification of democracy in America, since it means wealthy globalists can simply buy off the electoral votes and put anyone they want into the White House. The voters be damned. When the American people realize their votes have been nullified through mass bribery and corruption, they're going to revolt like we've never seen before. They'll take to the streets in protest, and the greater margin of victory in the popular vote by Donald Trump, the more angry voters are going to be. We have quite simply reached the point in American history where the American people will no longer tolerate the theft of power and massive election fraud that's now routinely pursued by Democrats and especially Clinton operatives. If this election is stolen by George Soros via the bribery of electors, I anticipate full-on revolt where the military, the police, and the citizens storm Washington and depose the corrupt Obama-Clinton regime and install proper election winner as president. That would be Donald J. Trump, of course. Frankly, we the people have every right to demand that democracy be restored. It's time to take America back from thieving, lying, commie bastards running the Democratic Party today. And the next article I have for you is off of the allnewspipeline.com. It says Putin checkmates Hillary Clinton and the globalist as insider warns we might all be dead soon. In the news story from the Mirror, the Drudge Report linked on Monday, we got our very first look at Russia's latest country destroyers, the Satan II missile packed with up to 16 nuclear warheads and able to completely destroy an area as big as Texas or a country size of France, according to experts, telling us the weapons will make the bombs dropped upon Hiroshima and Nagasaki look like pop guns. Russia's new RS-28 Samat super nukes will be ready to launch in 2018. As we reported on AMP back on September 25th, Russia already had Satan missiles, the SS-18s, that were capable of destroying huge areas. We warned then that, according to Paul Craig Roberts, 5 or 6 Satans and the entire East Coast would be toast. We hear directly from Roberts in the final video below, in which he warns us why we all might be dead soon if globalist events continue to go in the direction they've been recently heading. We also take a look below at a newly translated Russian news program in which we're told how Putin has recently checkmated Hillary Clinton and the globalists in Syria, as well as a new video from Discover Ministries in which the prophetic implications of Clinton's recent nuclear slip during the debates is discussed. That leads our videographer to warn why he believes our planet is now at the brink of nuclear war with possibly nothing to stop it. According to the story from the Conservative Daily Post that Steve Quayle linked to on his website on Sunday, Russian President Vladimir Putin just fired a stern warning shot at Hillary Clinton and the globalists that he might shoot down U.S. jets in the Middle East and is well prepared for World War III. We weren't the least bit surprised to read that the same day, Zero Hedge asked if the White House had just declared war upon Russia after the two nuclear superpowers continued their saber rattling after Vice President Joe Biden recent statement that the White House was prepared to send Vladimir Putin a message, most likely in the form of cyber attack, amounted to a virtual American declaration of war on Russia in Russia's eyes. The very same day, the International Business Times reported that should Hillary and the globalists launch war against Russia, it could be the biggest mistake made in U.S. history that could quickly lead to millions of dead Americans. According to the news story from Michael Snyder over at End Times of Michael Snyder over at End of the American Dream, there is zero hope for America until we turn away from our nation's evil ways, warning us that not even Donald Trump presidency can save us as long as we continue to slaughter babies on the industrial scale, have sexually transmitted diseases spreading at the fastest pace in decades, with the percentage of births out of wedlock more than 10 times higher than in 1940. It's clear the American people have followed our corrupt and morally bankrupt leaders in headlong rush towards complete destruction. According to this news story from Mark Salvo over at SHTFP plan, that complete destruction might happen sooner rather than later if NATO and the U.S. decide to continue pushing Vladimir Putin in Russia. Reagan cabinet member Roberts warning us that Putin's nukes could wipe out the entire USA within minutes. We take a look below at newly translated video from Russian television in which we learn how Russian President Vladimir Putin has just checkmated Hillary Clinton and NATO, and why any future U.S. aggression towards Russia would quickly bring death to millions of American citizens. And these videos are in this article if you want to take a look at those. It says anybody who has been paying attention to real-world events realizes the Middle East is now in such huge mess, largely because of Hillary Clinton, as our videographer tells us. Back in 2011, Clinton called for a no-fly zone over Libya through an official UN resolution. But what did Team Clinton proceed to do instead? From our videographer, it says, the no-fly zone was designed to circumvent Gaddafi's own aircraft, while the U.S. proceeded to bomb the territory in clear contravention to the UN resolution. Gaddafi's convoy was bombed with the use of a drone, after which they sent in the rebels and the camera crew to kill him. Not this time, Hillary, not this time. As we're told by the news broadcaster, Russia's recent moves make it impossible for the West to impose a no-fly zone over Syria. As we hear in the video and is reported in this story from Daily Mail, Russian warships, which recently sailed down the English Channel towards Syria, will make any future no-fly zone seeking to be imposed by Clinton and NATO impossible to achieve without risking all-out World War III. And even Russian President Vladimir Putin recently stated any such war will be fought everywhere, including here on U.S. soil. Are Hillary Clinton and the globalists ready to sacrifice the lives of tens of hundreds of millions of Americans just to overthrow Assad in Syria and risk World War III against nuclear superpower that could completely destroy us before most Americans even knew that World War III had begun? Imagine our entire East Coast up in flames. From the southern tip of Florida up the East Coast to New England, hundreds-year-old cities completely wiped off the map in a matter of moments. Imagine Washington, D.C., Baltimore, Philadelphia, and New York City, and every other major and minor U.S. city and town along the East Coast reduced to smoldering ash, countless lives lost, and land uninhabitable for thousands of years, according to Roberts. Is that what Hillary Clinton and the globalists want for America? As we're told in this new story from the Express, Russia now has at least 55 SS-18 bombs, appropriately nicknamed Satans. According to Roberts, it would only take 5 Satans to wipe out the entire East Coast of the U.S., leaving more than 112 million Americans at risk of extermination and radiation spread over 600 miles, according to experts. As Susan Duclos told us on AMP back on October the 14th, should World War III break out, there will be Hiroshimas and Nagasaki's everywhere across the planet. And while Russia has long prepared for that, very possibly by building nuclear fallout shelters for the entire capital of Moscow and across much of the country, U.S. government has done absolutely nothing for a huge majority of American people. Simply, we are just sitting ducks about to get cooked if the wrong presidential candidate is voted into office, who for some reason seemingly wants nuclear annihilation for America. AMP is the Clinton campaign press office asking why Hillary would want a war with Russia that could lead to the deaths of hundreds of millions of Americans. We have yet to receive an answer. And there's several videos in this if you want to take a look at those. The next article I have for you, I got a chuckle out of this. I don't know what you'll think about it, but here we go. It's off of constitutionrising.com, and it says, Tim Kaine breaks all records for low turnout at campaign events. Normally, the corrupt Democrats will bus in some union groups or paid actors pretending to be Clinton supporters, fill the seats and stands. They at least attempt to make a little less obvious that nobody outside elites, Hollywood, entertainers, financial parasites, globalists, and establishment hierarchy supports their criminal ticket. Somebody within the campaign apparently messed up. It was this past Monday, so at a minimum, the unions should have been able to get their unprincipled minions over to affirm their undying love and support for the evil one or her running mate. What happened? At what point does rally become something else? Just like a few guys hanging out or chilling with the freak? While Kaine is undoubtedly not the kind of guy you'd give spare house key to and tell drop in anytime, they are supposed to be able to tolerate him at least for the duration of a campaign speech. Beyond mere tolerance, is there any enthusiasm requirement for a designation of gathering as rally, or is the presence of a finite number of bodies in possession of pulse significant? By these standards, my last visit to DMV was rousing and electric. You know your campaign's in trouble when Kaine, the man designated to be president when Clinton finally can't hide her health any longer or drops dead, can only draw about 30 people to an event. Security is unsurpassed for this West Palm Beach, Florida event, as the ratio of Secret Service agents to attendees appears to be about 4-1. It might even be better than that. Some of those attendees are likely plainclothes officers as well. For all we know, there were no attendees, or only Kaine, his promoters and protectors. It's much more than he needs in a way of security. With his party being the one that conducts the dirty tricks and thuggery and no civilians even aware of his existence, he's not in any danger. It's okay, though. The Clintons have plenty of other people's money to throw away and on security and everything else, including bribes and lots of false negative ads. Clearly, that isn't enough. The American people seem to have figured out their scam. They've got something better to do than stand around and be lied to by weird little elf people. You'd expect to see more people than this at a typical 5-year-old's birthday party. And there's video in this if you want to take a look at it. Oh my goodness gracious. The next one we have, I can't make this stuff up. The next one we have is off of oh gosh, how's this read? KISSFM969.com. Says early voters from Amarillo are saying their votes were changed on the ballot. So now we have another one. We had this in, I think it was Maryland, I know in Chicago, and now Amarillo, Texas. It says, it's what most voters fear when they go in to fill out their ballots. Update was at 9 a.m. this morning. It says Potter County Judge Nancy Tanner released a statement this morning. It said, there is nothing wrong with any of the machines we use for voting. They do not flip your vote. They do not flip parties. Humans do that. It goes on to talk about situation in Canyon. There was one incident in Randall County where a voter voted straight ticket and when they hit the vote button, it flipped parties. The machine was then checked, and there was nothing wrong with the machine. View the entire press release here, and you can click a link to check out the press release. This original story, early voting for the 2016 election started Monday morning, October the 24th. The people of Potter and Randall counties are taking this opportunity to skip the long lines. That way, file out the voting locations on election day. It's common to see pictures of the I voted stickers on social media. It's not as common to see the stories I've been seeing today. A voter from Canyon posted the experience she had while voting. Apparently, when she chose the straight Republican option, the ballot selected Clinton Kane instead of Trump Pence. And there's Facebook chatter here. One says, Gary and I went to early voting today. I voted straight Republican ticket, and as I scrolled to submit my ballot, I noticed that the Republican straight ticket was highlighted. However, the Clinton Kane box was also highlighted. I tried to go back and change and could not get it to work. I asked for help from one of the workers, and she couldn't go back either. I took a second election person to get the machine to where I could correct the vote to a straight ticket. Be careful and double check your selections before you cast your votes. Don't hesitate to ask for help. I had to have help to get mine changed. And another one here says, hey, everyone, just heads up. I had a family member that voted this morning, and she voted straight Republican. She checked before she submitted, and the vote had changed to Clinton. She reported it and made sure her vote was changed back. They commented that it had been happening. She's trying to get the word out and asked that we post and share. Just wanted everyone's vote to be accurate and count. Check your vote before you submit. And then the article goes on and says, we spoke to Randall County Elections Office, and they were aware of this mistake, but addressed it as user error. They said that there are several voters each year who report that their ballots are mismarked, but they are usually caused by a voter accidentally selecting a different party. Snopes addressed several stories that came out of Texas yesterday, and you can click on a link to take you to that article if you want to read that. It says tensions are especially high this year because of the controversial candidates running for president. There are many state and local offices on the ballot, so even if you aren't sure about who your presidential selection, try to get out and vote. However, you should always double check your ballot no matter which party you're affiliated with. So there's that information. And my understanding is that it is happening. It's a calibration error when you push the little button for your selection. If you're trying to vote straight ticket, the calibration in the machines, in some of the machines, not all, in some of the machines is off. So you'll be hitting for Republican and the calibration is off, so it'll put it on Democrat. So check your ballots. The next article I have for you is off of BizPack Review. It says ACLU bullies school for frightening message after it held successful patriotic rally honoring police. It appears that even honoring our first responders at all is now deemed microaggression of some sort. That's what we learned when social justice warriors began to complain after a New Jersey high school held a ceremony honoring police, soldiers, and other first responders before a recent football game. School officials thought it would be a great idea to hold the Salute to the USA ceremony honoring police and first responders before the Shore Conference game between top-ranked Middletown South and Toms River North high school football teams. The ceremony was organized by Middletown Police Deputy Stephen Dollinger and featured state police pipes and drums of the blue and gold, state and local mounted units, soldiers from all service branches, along with representatives of other nearby police agencies, according to NJ.com. The chief reason for the ceremony was to honor local officers who was wounded in a shootout with terror suspect Ahmad Khan Rahmani, who is accused in the bombing seen earlier this year in Seaside Park, Elizabeth, and New York City. But immediately, some began to complain about the event, calling it a frightening message. The ACLU of New Jersey quickly condemned the event. Jasmine Crenshaw, an organizer with the ACLU New Jersey, called the whole event a frightening message that tells citizens that police won't tolerate protests over police violence. The ACLU sent a letter to the school district protesting the event. As initially described, the event appeared to honor police officers, veteran service members, and first responders, the ACLU wrote in a letter. According to press reports, however, the event is being used to intimidate and ostracize people who express their views about systematic racism and social justice. The law enforcement officers are sworn to protect the Constitution, and it is a disservice to the students and players that an event that should focus on them, their families, and their communities is being used to send a message that people who express concerns about disparities in the criminal justice system are unwelcome, disloyal, or unpatriotic, the letter added. Chief Dellinger was shocked by the claims in the ACLU letter. This is just about honoring our country and the men and women of law enforcement and first responders, the chief said. That's all this is about. Goodness. Well, I have one more thing for you, and that is your feel good for the evening. I always like to leave it on a little higher note uh, than, than all this negative news that we go through. And this will be a video, and it is a screen share. So we'll get this up here so that you can see it, and I'll play it for you. It's very short. I think you'll love it.
I tell you this not for praise or anything. I'm just saying because this is pretty intense. Josette Duran, the emotional Facebook Live video is getting a lot of attention. She's been packing her son's lunch and an extra one since the beginning of the school year. Asked her to. She said, "No, Mom, it's for this little boy at school." And he sits by himself and all he eats a fruit cup. The school principal called Duran into the office because that little boy's mom found out Duran had been feeding her son. She says, "I know this isn't much, but I just got a job, and I know you've been feeding my son." Duran says she couldn't accept the single mother's money. The girls' volleyball team that Duran coaches also raised more than $400 to pay her back. And she took that money straight to the cafeteria. "We paid up all the past due accounts for all the kids that need lunch. So now no one in that school owes any lunch money to anybody, and everybody can." Duran found out the little boy's mom lost her job and couldn't afford to pay for his school lunches. It's something Duran says she knows all too well. "This had come to me because a few years ago, me and my son were hopeless. I was living in my car. I was washing him in bath food. We didn't have food." Not only has Duran taught this school a valuable lesson in compassion and kindness, I have friends, and I'm doing better in school. And you have a great son, and he is my best friend. She's also created a new friendship. In Albuquerque, Sandra Ramirez, KLT Action 7 News.
And there you have that. I thought you would enjoy that. That was a nice little article there. She her little boy saw somebody in need and come home and asked her if she'd pack an extra lunch. And I mean, it might cost you a few dollars to do something like that, but for most of us, that's not going to break us to pack a little lunch for another child to eat. And I'll tell you what, if you have extra money, it wouldn't be a bad idea to contact your public school system and ask them if they have children there that can't afford to eat, and maybe throw a few dollars into the fund to feed some of those kids. Their parents might be out of work and not able to feed them, and if you've ever had kids and had to send them to school, it's expensive to send kids to school. There's always stuff that they have to have, the school supplies and school books, workbooks, and they've always got something that you got to be sending money to school for. I remember when I had a stepson and a foster boy that I was sending to school, Lord have mercy, there's always stuff you had to be buying. So not everybody can afford to feed them at school. You try to feed them a decent breakfast and then tell them, we'll make it until you get home and we'll have supper. Maybe the kids are only getting a couple meals a day, if that. So not a bad idea. If you got a few extra bucks, contact the school and say, hey, Got kids down there that can't afford school lunches, I'd like to put a little money in the kitty there and help feed the kids. It's a good idea. So there you have a good deed for the day. I hope it's a beautiful day where you are. I hope you can get out, kick off your shoes, stick your feet down in the grass, curl up your toes, balance yourself, soak up some of that earth energy, take a deep breath of fresh air, and be glad you woke up above ground. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye.